Oh, the plan is working. Gab has officially bullshitted Ball into exposing himself. And if it's not becoming obvious that what I've been saying is absolutely correct, you need to dig a little bit deeper than just these same fucking people saying the same fucking things. Because, if you just go back, just search for that same story. When you see these things about Obama is intentionally equipping the terrorists in Syria, okay? Oh, Lord have mercy. Who do you think equips the terrorists the rest of the time? For fuck's sake. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Forgot to say good morning, didn't I? Just got right into it. Well, there's some important shit, okay? And I think the most important thing to remember that all of these other channels suddenly have forgotten is that it's not about the white race. It's about Christianity and civilization and justice and truth. It's about Christianity, civilization, justice, and truth. Those are parts of Christianity. And these people, so predictably, have twisted this right into, the white man. No, it's not about the white man. Because guess what? People of other races, when of their indigenous religions, don't use mass migration as a military tactic. Okay. So, today's going to be a day where I actually bother to do things to correlate or prove, if you will, my case. Please go to the John Birch Society's YouTube channel and scroll through what they got on Islam and communism, Islam and Russia. Because there just happens to be, right about when I was born, a book came out written by the Soviet foreign minister explaining how Islam had been implemented and could be further used to spread communism. And it detailed out all the different regimes that they were supplying and all the successes that they had doing this. Okay? Islam as a tactic to spread totalitarian governments, to spread the Russian mafia influence. And it's written right there, to spread communism, not the liberal hippie communism that we get bullshitted and taught about in this country. Okay? I used to like that idea too. I know where you're coming from if that's what you think of when you think of communism. That is not communism. Okay? Communism, to think of communism properly, you really need to think more of Hitler because you just didn't get told enough about Stalin to accurately gauge what the hell was really going on during communism. Okay. I think I had notes or something somewhere. So, yeah, important thing in thinking about everything that's going on here with the migrant crisis and everything. This is not about race. And anybody who says it's about race, you need to discount everything they're fucking saying. Okay? Because they're using the truth to twist you. All right. First question of the day that I'm going to ask myself. Self, do you mind if I ask you a question? Why, certainly, self. Go right ahead. That was that funny? I don't know if that was funny. I bet you my wife will think it's funny. Okay. So, self, what is a sleeper cell? How about I ask you guys, what is a sleeper cell? Oh, I know what you're going to say if you're not informed the way I've been informing people. You're going to say a sleeper cell is a group of a, a group of Arab guys who want to go to flight school and then pretend to drive taxis until the time is right. Yes? Yes? Okay. No. This is why you're naive. Okay? And this is why I feel like I have to start by teaching little children how to breathe. And it's why it's the definition, okay? People have been looking for these metaphorical things happening when they were literal, and literal things happen when they were metaphor. This is a literal form of metaphorical blindness that you are going to be cured of and be able to see for the first time. Well, what you need to do is relearn everything that you unlearned your entire life. You were born with better instincts than society has left you with. Bear in mind, I can barely read my own handwriting, so, I'm not like, I don't prep for long camera stares or anything. If I actually look up at the camera for a while, I'm adding to something. Usually because I can't read what the hell I'm saying. What is that? Can you read that? Really? Okay. Moving on. Poof. Oh, okay. Speaking of which, I had an interesting time last night. I think I might just go ahead and let my wife tell you about the details. Basically, drew a little line in the sand or the ground, metaphorical line in the sand, if you will, and some things, UFOs, if you will, just kind of decided to come over this way. And then an old friend of mine, who I had mentioned in the beginning part of this video, he fucked around for a minute, and then he morphed into kind of what looked like a cross between the Daedalus and the Reliant. And very, very slowly just kind of hovered right over. And the only airport's that way, so if he was landing, the altitude he was at, he would have had to land sideways on the river, um, facing the way I was last night, not the way I'm facing right now. Okay. So, anyways, that was interesting. Moving on. All right. Speaking of unlearning things you've learned, you've been led to believe a very carefully laid out conglomerate of false truths. And together, they create a self sustaining model of perpetual chaos. And the problem is, and the reason why it's self sustaining, is that no one seems to know who's behind it all. That is kind of written down there. I kind of added in a positive, and then while I was looking up, and then I remembered what the last line said. I just like to make fun of people who have to accuse me of reading a teleprompter because I don't often read a teleprompter. This is the closest thing I have to a teleprompter, And if it's used in any teleprompter type format, you might see the edges of the notebook at the bottom of the page, or see me looking at it down like this. Okay. I'm looking down here. That's an ashtray. I'm looking up there. I'm looking at a painting and the clothes in my closet and a shelf with some knickknacks on it. Shelf, closet, painting. Ooh. If I'm looking this way, I'm either looking at my wife's messages right there, or I'm looking at the whatever the hell I have propped up behind the camera just to reflect the sign back at me. Which right now I have made incredible technological advancements in the Nothian Studio of Science. I now have a old laptop box. I'm using the former soundstage platform as a sound acoustic amplifier. Yeah, that's what it is. It's an acoustic amplifier of science. Yes. All right. So bear with me. This video is actually going to be quite informative. Eventually. Okay. So, what a real sleeper cell is a generational thing. Okay? It's about indoctrination. It's about ideology. Okay? If someone has the right ideology, they're naturally going to do what you can predict that they will do when the time is right. And if you can predict someone's actions, you effectively control them. They are pawns to you to be moved on a chessboard. Islamist extremists are pawns to Putin to be moved on a chessboard. The Saudi royal family, the Hezbollah leaders, the Assad, these are the bishops and the rooks to be moved on a chessboard. Not much more. And what you have by generational, I mean a system in which people are taken from conquered areas, moved to within held areas, and then later migrated, and once their ideology is established, migrated into future conquerable areas, or areas in which they wish to conquer, Future conquest areas? Yeah. See? No prompter. All right. Now, a lot of people want to reject what I say out of hand because they've heard things like exactly what Putin says, repeated to them by people posing as reporters. Okay. And all you need to do, like I was saying earlier, is search for your story that you think you know. Okay. And then go back. Search by order of appearance. Okay. Search by when it was posted. When the first mention of this kind of story was posted. I've done this. Do it. Try it. What you'll find is that most modern conspiracy theories started in Russian media. You'll find them at pravda.ru or at Russia Today, Kaiser Report. Period. And CNN even repeats these things now. It used to be a Fox News repeated these things now. Fox News and Alex Jones kind of seem the same now. It's really kind of hard to tell what's going on right now because there's fighting going on behind the scenes. And John Boehner just resigned. It's pretty evident. Okay? Like I said, a lot of things are going according to plan right now. And part of that plan is to wake people up, even if it has to be done the hard way. And that's why I say the most important thing, the easiest way to spot these false prophets, not just by their national globalist, the globalist New World Order Illuminati crap. Okay, constantly with that crap. Nothing about Russia. Nothing. Putin can do no wrong, but no globalist New World Order. Blah blah blah. But then most of them come out talking about the end of the white race. We got to protect the white race in Europe. It's not about the white race. Races naturally stay where they're from. Okay? People naturally like where they're at. It's the foreign influence. It's the imperial subversion that's gone on that has caused this, like for instance, this mass migration to Europe right now. All right. So among these things that you hear are things like, if we wouldn't have went to Iraq, none of this shit would be happening. But guess what? We never elected Bush. Who did? Who pulled the strings? Who goaded us there? Where did we get these different little bits of information from? And if you trace it back, it's either Russia or people who were cooperating with Russia at the time. And some. It just boggles my mind how people swallowed this story. Oh, yes. Al Qaeda were the people that we helped fight against Russia. But now, because of Israel, where a bunch of Russians went, they don't like the United States. Because we support fucking everybody. We support everybody. It's ridiculous how many people we support. We supported Israel a bit too much. But how do you go from us helping you too to suddenly you work for Putin behind everybody's back, basically? I mean, do you think the Arabs have just been doing Russia favors for no reason? Okay, I'm moving on. But the whole idea is, oh, well, we invaded Iraq for oil. And if you go look at that, that's a Kaiser report from fucking 2001, 2003. All right, very early on. The first Kaiser report accusing us of invading Afghanistan for a oil pipeline came out, I believe, in November, right towards the end of November. I don't know why I'm talking with my finger. Okay, but this is about the Unocal pipeline that went from Kazakhstan, okay, through Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and it was the one that went to the Enron plant in New Delhi, India, and to the sea. Oil went to the sea. The gas, the natural gas, went to the Enron plant in New Delhi, India. That was the big brouhaha that caused the collapse of Enron back in the day. Basically, they were not required to report this certain type of foreign debt that they owed to the Indian government on their quarterly financial reports, okay? So their stock kept going up because it looked like they were making a profit already, when meanwhile they were going in debt to India. Then this got found out about, and that's what caused the collapse of Enron. Okay, pipeline coming from where? Kazakhstan. Helped implemented by who? Al Qaeda in the Bush administration, who we didn't elect. All right? There's bigger shit going on here than these people who are trying to start a race war are fucking telling you about. And it's not Illuminati and globalism. You know what fucking globalism is? Globalism was an American idea that was going to try to end these wars of conquest. All right? And it was basically a final challenge towards the fucking evil people. And they took the challenge. What was the World Trade Center? it was the World Trade Organization's court, basically. Okay, and we had trade disputes with China and Russia and Kazakhstan over a lot of different things, active at the time. And then we got people who come here from Russia saying, "Oh, I'm a Jew, feel sorry for me. My parents or my uncle was from Poland and shit. Feel sorry for me." And they got all this fucking money. Nobody questions it. Because we're nice people. We're good people. But we got to be aware that we get taken advantage of for that. Okay? You had this guy bought the fucking Trade Center and made, oh, $7.2 billion off of it. Including the, the number 7 billion, blah, 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 right? And we get told by who? Russia Today, okay, RT, that 9/11 is an inside job. They're the main ones promoting this. And if you look back at the old websites that promoted the whole theory, all of them have similar content to all of the Russian promoted content websites. I don't know what the hell's going on with my camera stand here. Ah. Okay, and go way back and fail. Okay. This is retarded. Okay, there we go. That. Never mind. Okay. So this whole idea that we did all this for oil for us starts to fall out of place when you get it through your head that, oh, we didn't elect these people who did this shit. Okay. And it's a little bit above and beyond the means of internal organization to suddenly spring up to steal an election. Okay. But there are certain foreign intelligence agencies, namely the CIA and the KGB, who are long known for, trying to play with each other's governments. Okay, so put down all these silly conspiracy ideas and think in terms of tactics and military strategy and political and ideological conquest. All right. The whole idea behind the United Nations is not evil. The whole idea behind globalism is not evil. The whole idea behind novo corpus ortum is not evil. All right? It's the idea that all these wars in the past were caused by trade disputes primarily. Okay? So what do you do about that, you morons? You make a world trade court. What do you do to try to prevent people from getting mad at each other because of differences? Cultural, color, skin differences. You create a global organization that can try to intervene. You can create a global organization that tries to unite nations instead of letting them go to war. You could call it the United Nations. So just because something wrong happens, just because somebody has a bad idea here and there, just because maybe perhaps the people who are trying to keep the peace have an enemy that is more insidious and organized than they are, people give up on the whole idea of it and want to call it satanic. I say to you something simple that I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm sure. Judge them by their works. They try to keep the peace. Do you think Rwanda was just a movie? It's shameful, the propaganda that Americans have allowed themselves to repeat. It's shameful, the propaganda that the nations that we try to help remain free have allowed themselves to repeat. If you didn't make straight A's in history class, then you have no intellectual defense to these things. And that's okay, but you need to be intellectually honest with yourself and take some responsibility for how easily you might be bullshitted. And don't go just believing some stuff without doing research from a contrary perspective. That's what science is. Okay, that's what real science is. When you research something from the opposite perspective of the given hypothesis, okay, you try to disprove it. That's when I know something, it's because I tried to disprove it and I could not. Okay, that's when I go with an instinct. I tried to disprove that instinct, and not only does it not happen, but it winds up leading you to more truth. Okay. And I guarantee you, everything I talk about on this channel will lead you to more truth. Moving on. All right. I don't even think I've read any of these yet. So, getting back to Iraq and oil and whatnot. We were told we invaded Iraq for oil. I was swapping my invasions around. Who got most of the contracts for oil in Iraq and still holds them? Was it Chevron, Texaco, good American oil companies? No. It was primarily Russian and Chinese oil contractors. Now, see, this idea was sold to the American people with good intentions. We bought this idea with good intentions. And now we're having it being thrown back in our face by Vladimir Putin, the one who basically supported Bush when no other world leader really did. Bush and Putin were just getting along great. Putin's like, I trust him. He understands how things really work in the world. That's what Putin said about Bush. And of course, Bush saw Putin's soul and knew that he was the baby Jesus or something. I don't know. Okay. But you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And now Putin's primary line is, well, who are you to tell us we can't fucking invade whatever the hell we want because you went to Iraq? Um, hmm. It seems like fair criticism. We didn't go to Iraq. The coup went to Iraq. Then the American people took back over their government. And now the coup took over the media and wants you to think that Obama's a Muslim. Well, hopefully Obama's going to come out with the real truth soon, because we're getting backed into a corner. We're getting written out of the Middle East. Okay? And that's what this whole plan was about from the get-go. We had a significant American presence in the Middle East. We've been losing that steadily since 9/11. We didn't gain any. We might have gained a little bit in Afghanistan, but all we wound up in Afghanistan was consolidating power for a dictator that worked for the pipeline company from Kazakhstan. Okay? Yeah, Ahmed Karzai was a regional executive for Unical and was the administrator of the pipeline consortium. Guess whose baby that was? Dick Cheney's. Oh, yeah, and if you notice, I'm looking into my own reflection like it's a mirror, and I'm talking because I don't have to read stuff about this crap. I told you, I already know about all the stuff that you know about. Okay, I write down my own thoughts. Well, getting back to writing down stuff. Yes, Dick Cheney, the guy who shot Bush's lawyer in the face because Bush wanted to, be an American again. Ah, yes, yes. Oh, learn to breathe. Yeah. For Joey, if you're listening to this in your car, I was miming like I wanted to pimp slap the camera because bitches be stupid. Yeah. All right. So, well, there's some known problems in the Middle East. One of the big ones is human trafficking. Another of which is mercenary. Another of which is black market oil trading. And another of which is large organized terrorist political parties like Hezbollah. Okay. But what's interesting is that all of these different things, and I'll go into that in a second. All of these different things, the contract mercenaries, the black market oil trading, the human trafficking, okay, the sales of prisoners and people from just a village that you don't want there anymore. Okay, these are all historically known communist Russian mafia tactics. All right, and it is no coincidence that these terrorist organizations like Hezbollah are supplied primarily with either Russian or Chinese equipment, AK 47s and RPGs, made in Russia. And if you'd like some confirmation of these facts, all right, the John Birch Society has many books. It'll hold up, and you can go read those books for yourself. This is not some shit that I'm making up, apparently. Okay. I knew this stuff instinctively. Okay. There's just basic fucking common sense to me. And I'm sitting there wondering why the whole fucking world is going crazy and doesn't have the common sense to realize this shit. But it turns out, as long as I've been alive, there have been Russians confessing of this plan from the Kremlin. Who am I that they would be doing such a thing once I was born? Moving on. So, regimes like Assad's and the Hezbollah government, Palestine, um, the various dictator governments that were around, like Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi. Um, did you know that has been a long time trying to set up a big military base in Benghazi? Did you know that? No, you didn't know anything about that. All you knew was Hillary Clinton, Benghazi, Hillary Clinton, Benghazi. That's all you fucking know. It's sad. So recently it came out that Assad and the leader of Hezbollah, the guy who says we're going to rain down rockets on Israel, Egypt's Al Sisi, Vladimir Putin, well, no, I'm gonna list Putin last because he's the relevant party here. Egypt's Al Sisi, Syria's Assad, the Sunni government apparently in Baghdad. Allegedly, Iran's taking kind of a neutral stance on this, but they're getting listed by the media as among this little cooperative alliance. Um, Hezbollah and Netanyahu all say, Russia, come take care of ISIS for us. So all these people that basically have made it impossible for the Americans to operate say, oh, Putin, thank you. Oh, we were hoping you would come help. He's been providing plenty of help for a long time. You think just truckloads of fucking explosives for car bombs just pop up out of fucking nowhere? You think there's a well in the desert out there west of Fallujah? Napalm just fucking springing up out of the ground, you know? Weapons are supplied by weapons suppliers. Okay? And these are Russian primarily weapons. We keep track of the few instances of American weapons. What weapons do you think they're using to overtake the people with those American weapons? What weapons do you think they have to make the people with American weapons shit their pants and run? Do you know what a Grad missile launcher is? Have you ever seen the way they line them up to level a fucking town? Well, guess what? If a bunch of them trucks pulled up outside your town, you'd shit your pants too. And yeah, it's been Grad missile launching trucks used by ISIS in Syria. It's been heavy fucking machine guns mounted on the back of what looked like brand new pickup trucks used by ISIS in Syria. Same exact kind of pickup trucks they usually use in Russia. I know because I've watched hundreds of hours of what's been going on the ground in Europe, in Ukraine, in Crimea, in Donbass, in Georgia, in Chechnya, fucking in Tajikistan. You know, in Tajikistan right now, Russian media is buying up all the different outlets and expanding into different towns. And basically, we have some bases out there. And we have been trying since the end of the Cold War, since they got their independence, to help them remain independent. Okay. They're about to have an election, and Russian media has taken over. So I would expect that our bases in Tajikistan will be overran by protesters soon. By the way, everything that's happening right now, I've basically either foretold on this channel or on fucking Facebook. And I kind of spent yesterday making little photocopies of different things, including the Night of the Laughing Dragon, which I found my little cryptic text that I had said just to mark when I had done it so I would know. Wasn't ready to really tell anybody because I do feel a little bit guilty. Anyway, all I said was playing with a storm, getting bored, think I'll had an earthquake. I waited about an hour and I checked, and there was an earthquake on the part of the San Andreas Fault that is closest to where I am. Immediately during the time where I made the first notice. That was the 9/11 Dragon, in which basically Gabriel and I decided to, and since last night, this all came to full fruition. Okay, so I can safely tell you about this, and I haven't been able to tell you about this in previous videos. Okay, so Gabriel and I basically tricked Mars into thinking that he had ascended the throne, that he had basically conquered everything. And the reason why I did this is because I wanted Vladimir Putin to start making mistakes, to be so bold that all of the intentions historically could be revealed, that this whole connection between communism and Islam could be revealed, so that things like Donbass shooting down MH17 and then Putin responding by having ISIL overthrow Mosul so the media gets distracted could happen. These are mistakes that he's making. And think, and you can see this. The media is his empire. They're not going to sit there and fucking hold your hand and take you back to the truth. They're the ones that have been bullshitting you this whole time. All right, 41 minutes in. Let's see if I can get through these notes right quick and get this video wrapped up. So Assad, Netanyahu, Syria, Iraq, and quote Iran all make a deal with Putin yesterday or the day before. All this is happening, all these negotiations are happening while Obama is meeting with the Pope. And again, how long has he been Pope? About as long as I say I've been back, isn't it? Good Pope. Okay? If he wasn't a good Pope, well, guess what? He'd be gone. The line in the sand has been drawn. Redrew it last night. And trust me, things are going to start changing very definitively from here. Well, supposedly we've been told by Kaiser reports, and if you look back, all these different conspiracy channels all talking about how Obama created ISIS and shit. It all dates back to another Russian television documentary that basically says who created ISIS, and it basically blames the Obama administration and uses a couple legitimate complaints, legitimate grievances like the train and equip program, okay, and then just twists it way beyond that. Okay, so in the past few weeks, while this migrant crisis has been going on, while the Pope has been with our president, and our president has been meeting with China, we would be meeting with Tony Abbott as well. We would have a stronger coalition if it wasn't for this weird recall election that took down Tony Abbott in Australia and replaced him with a guy that looks like the Aussie version of Wolf Blitzer. But in the past few weeks, there hasn't been any footage of ISIL doing anything or coalition actions against ISIL. There hasn't been any footage of a town holding out against an ISIL onslaught, nothing like that. We had the French sell the Mistral ship to a new ally of Putin. Okay, so the two amphibious warships got sold to Al-Sisi in Egypt right after Al-Sisi had a very pleasant visit in which he probably got bribed by Putin in Moscow. All right. And all we're shown now, suddenly in the past couple of days, that the media is taking hold of the idea that Putin is going to be the new savior in the Middle East. The French are the only ones who've been, who just did airstrikes and had the videotape released to the media against ISIL. The French supposedly have now taken out a couple of ISIL targets, although it's really ambiguous as to what exactly they were targeting. All right. Now, the French government is infiltrated on both sides, but there's still a lot of good people there. All right. So it's really The reason why France is a problem is because of the great ambiguity in what France does. And the predictability of the liberal mindset, that is the predictability of the ideology that can be used against them and against other people. All right. Like, for instance, the predictability of the liberal ideology that led to the Sharia zones in France. My God, are you kidding me? That's due to this predictability that these false ideologies give people. All right. So, all this going on while Russia builds up not only its troops in Syria, builds up its base and air force in Syria, deploys a bunch of surface-to-air missiles in Syria, but they've been doing these negotiations behind doors with both Netanyahu and Hezbollah. Netanyahu and Hezbollah getting to agree because of Putin. Okay? What I've been contending all along is that people like Hezbollah and Netanyahu are opposition that's staged, okay? This guy rallies his people to do one thing, this guy rallies his people to do another, and they perpetuate the conflict. And you get told that it's globalists perpetuating the conflict. Did Obama bring Hezbollah and Putin to the table in agreement about Iraq and Syria and Assad? No, Putin did. Stop being herded by false shepherds. That's what makes you sheeple, okay? All right. So, all this is going on while also 500,000 migrants, just like ISIL promised, are being sent to Europe. There's no ISIL presence on the ground being documented right now. There's no actual Islamic State. They're bombing rebels and saying they're bombing ISIL, as far as we know. What's being released to us is consistent with that theory and does not contradict it. And ISIL, meanwhile, is taking a vacation in Europe. Oh, isn't that nice? They're going to go get them some white women. Yeah. There are pamphlets promising free Swedish girls to these migrants. Yeah, there's pamphlets promising free Swedish girls to migrants. Oh, guess how they're getting to Sweden? You think they're getting in another raft from Germany? No, they're taking a fucking train through Russia. Where do you think most of these people are getting through from Afghanistan to? To Europe from Afghanistan? You think they're going the long way and then jumping on a raft? No, they're taking trains through Russia. Check out the John Birch Society. They're actually covering it like news people. All right. But they are blinded by false shepherds. And I want to reach out to you guys, if any of you watch this, as a William F. Buckley fan, you need to let go of this nonsense that the enemy is trying to get you to corrupt your message with. And by trying, I mean, obviously, they've been successful, haven't they? Globalism is the response to communism, not a result of it. And if globalism is infiltrated by communism, that is something you need to take responsibility for and act on. Pick a side and stop trying to sound like everybody else. Stop allowing yourself to sound like everybody else. All right. So, all them things happening at once. Xi Jinping, Obama, and the Pope, and new eras of cooperation, and John Boehner resigns, and now we got a new era of cooperation among terrorists in the Middle East with Vladimir Putin. Well, isn't that nice? And what nobody's heard about while all this is happening, Simon Ostrovsky just reported the ceasefire in Ukraine has actually been holding. He was out there interviewing people, and he was kind of, you could tell he was just shocked because nobody was even firing small arms at each other. Okay, and this has been just a bloody, gruesome, enraged, vicious, propaganda based conflict. And suddenly, all this propaganda that these people were spewing just doesn't matter anymore. And they just want to be part of Ukraine. It's like their scripts changed. It's creepy. Okay? I mean, they literally went from saying the Nazis in Kiev are going to come kill all of us and we have to fight to defend our homeland that we keep taking from Ukraine. And, okay, I'm going to see if I can take a call while filming.